Jude was the only child of his parents, and then at the age of 16, the young boy was all serious with his studies as he intended to make his family proud. Jude was loved by all in the school because of his outward looks. His mother Clara was a very good friend to Auntie Lizzie, who happens to be a teacher in the school where Jude was schooling. So one day, Clara and her husband James were about to travel out of the state for a week for a meeting, and they were wondering how their son Jude will be coping since they will not be around. "Dad, no need to worry. I can take care of myself. You don't need to worry about anything," Jude said, assuring his parents. "No, son, I will never allow you to be all alone in this big house. What if something goes wrong? You will need someone to stay with you," Clara said to her son. "No, Mom, I can handle everything. You don't need to worry," Jude said to his parents in assurance. "Jude, I know you are a big boy and you can handle anything, but I can't leave you all alone in this big house. I have thought about it and have decided that you will move in with Auntie Lizzie. Since she is a good friend of mine and also a teacher in your school, she is the perfect person," his mother said to him. Jude didn't like the idea, but out of so many talks from his parents, he decided to accept. The next day being Sunday, Auntie Lizzie came to Jude's house to take him with her. When Jude got home with Auntie Lizzie, she showed him to his room. It was a 3-room apartment and well furnished. That night, Auntie Lizzie prepared food and they had their dinner and went to bed. The next day being Monday, she woke up and prepared for school and left with Jude. Jude was never comfortable around Auntie Lizzie because of how she behaves towards him. Auntie Lizzie once admired Jude because of his outward looks, and she uses the advantage of being his mother's friend to get close to him. That night, while Auntie Lizzie was taking her bath, her phone began to ring and she kept the phone beside Jude in the sitting room. Jude collected the phone and was calling out to her. "I'm in the bathroom. Please bring it in for me. The door is not locked. I think that is a very important call I must take," she said right from the bathroom. Jude stood at the door and was confused at what his auntie had just told him. He stood there until the phone began to ring for the 3rd time. He walked towards the door, opened it, and handed the phone to her while she was naked. Auntie Lizzie collected the phone from him with a smile on her face. "Thank you," she said. Once she was done with her bath, she walked into the sitting room and was just staring at Jude as he had his eyes glued to the television. Few minutes after she entered, Jude stood up and went into his room. Jude stood up and went into his room the moment Auntie Lizzie walked into the sitting room. When he got in, he laid on the bed and began to think of what happened earlier in the bathroom. He said to himself, "Whatever game she is up to, I'm ready to play along," he said as he slept. On the 3rd day, and that was on a Wednesday, Auntie Lizzie sent for Jude and asked him to come to the staff room that afternoon for his lunch. He came and sat in the same table and ate alone with her from the same food flask because she intentionally put the food in one food flask. Many students, especially Jude's classmates, saw what happened, and it became clear to them that Jude had been living with Auntie Lizzie for days now. After having his lunch with Auntie Lizzie and was heading to the class, Samuel, his classmate, rushed to him. "Guy, is what I'm hearing true? That you are living with Auntie Lizzie in the same roof?" Samuel asked curiously. "Yes, bro, it's true. What can I do about it?" "My mom instead I move in with her since she is a good friend of my mom," Jude said. "Bad guy. As if you don't like it. We all know you had a crush on her and you still do now." "Come on, bro, gist me. I know gist is already on the table," Samuel said, smiling, eager to hear it all. "Guy, you are right. Auntie Lizzie is my spec. And once upon a time my crush, and it seems I was in love with her then, but I don't know what may happen now I'm living with her in her house," Jude said. "Okay, Guy, it's like I will be coming on Saturdays to do my assignment there," Sam said, laughing out loud. "Come, if I see you there, I will cut off your leg. Don't near there, it's now my territory now till my parents comes back," Jude said as they walked into the class. That afternoon, Jude headed home before Auntie Lizzie because there was a serious staff meeting, so she stayed back for the meeting while Jude went ahead. When he got home, he went straight to the bathroom and took his bath. He rested for some minutes before going to the kitchen for his food. He was still eating when Auntie Lizzie entered the house. She walked straight to him and rubbed his head, collected the spoon from his hand, dug it into the plate of rice, and ate. And she said to him, "Once you are done eating, there is something I would like us to do," she said to Jude. The moment she said that, Jude's heart skipped a beat as she looked at him in that kind of way. Auntie Lizzie smiled as she stood up and left. Immediately she left, random thought began to run down his mind. "Okay, let me finish eating first, then I will see what you have got in your sleeves," Jude said in his mind as he continued to bid down the food. Once he was done eating, he dropped the plate and sat down to rest a bit. Ever since Auntie Lizzie left and went into her room, Jude never saw her for some minutes. Jude was still seated when Auntie Lizzie walked into the sitting room. "Jude, are you done eating?" she said. "Yes, I'm done just few minutes ago," Jude answered. "Okay, I would like us to do something full of fun. I hope you would like it." "Just wait a minute, I will be right back," she said as she stands and left. Jude turned around to look at what the great surprise was. Few minutes later, Auntie Lizzie walked in with an item in her hand. "Okay, Jude, I wanted us to play cards. I hope you are good in it," she asked. Jude was quiet for a while and then burst into laughter in a way Auntie Lizzie was surprised. Then he turned to her. "Yes, I'm good at playing cards. It's just that I wouldn't have pity on you," he said. "Okay then, let's find out who is the best," she said. They began to play the cards, and it was fun as they both seemed to be enjoying their moments. The game was moving smoothly and fun until Auntie Lizzie dropped the bomb. "I overheard your discussion with Sam today in school," she said as she looked at Jude to study his reaction. Jude was short of words as he struggled to say out a word. "Sam, oh Sam, you see, we discussed about our next biology practical and how to go about the items we need for it," he lied. "Okay, that's good, but how come you never told me about the crush you had on me?" she asked. Jude nearly jumped out of his skin the moment she made that statement. "Auntie Lizzie, I had a crush on you, but I was too scared to let it out, because thought you will not be happy with it because you are older," he said as he sat firmly. Jude was still battling with words when Auntie Lizzie crossed his lips with her finger. "It's all right, Jude, I'm here now," she said. Jude was frozen down to his knees and lost control of himself as he glued his eyes to Auntie Lizzie's lips. He dressed close to Auntie Lizzie and kissed her. At a point, he wanted to unlock his lips from her when Auntie Lizzie pushed him closer to herself and the kiss became hotter. Right there on the floor of sitting room, Jude had sex with Auntie Lizzie, and that was his first time. The thought of what happened filled Jude's heart as he never knew what to say to people if the news broke out to people. Despite all these, Jude was still knocking it out with Auntie Lizzie. On a Saturday morning, Jude washed his clothes and prepared for the next day, because his parents will be coming back on Sunday and will pick him from Auntie Lizzie's house before heading to theirs. Auntie Lizzie was watching Jude from behind as he was washing and hanging his clothes. She came to him and hugged him from the back. "Auntie, please not here, people might see us," Jude said as he turned to her. "Let them see us, they will only talk, nothing more," she said shamelessly. She dragged Jude from there to her room. "Come on, Jude, your parents will be coming back tomorrow and you will leave me once they are back. And we have this time to ourselves, just for this last time before you go," Auntie said. Jude looked at her in a curious way and exhaled. "That's my sweet baby boy, my handsome boy," she said as she touched Jude at his sensible part of the body. And Jude carried and laid her on the bed, and every other thing became a history. The next day around 1 p.m., Clara and her husband drove into Auntie Lizzie's compound, and after every exchange of pleasantries, Jude went home with his parents. Though Lizzie and Jude do see in the school, they never had time to sex each other because of no chance given. And Jude never breathed out any word of what happened in Auntie Lizzie's house to anyone. Clara and her husband, James, was seeing happy as they saw their son in a good shape and appreciated her for a job well done. On a fateful day in the school, it was announced that a scholarship exam will be taken and the student with the highest grades will be taken to any country of choice for university education. Every student was happy when the news broke out. The preparation for the exam began, and as well as the students. Jude was not left behind. He tried his best to make sure he passed the exam. 2 months later, the D-Day for the exam finally came and students were excited. The exam started by 10 a.m. to end by 1 p.m. While the exam was going on, right there in the exam hall, Jude collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. His father was contacted and few minutes later, he arrived at the hospital. His dad approved for a test to be conducted of Jude and waited for the result to be out. Jude was still unconscious at the moment. Hours later, the results came and it was confirmed that Jude was HIV positive and it had been in his system for a long time, and the symptoms grew and hit him so hard. At the moment, his parents refused to accept what the doctor said. Until when they saw that it was truly their son's result, his mother cried bitterly but wondered how her son's health came to that level. They were still with the doctor when a nurse came in and told them that Jude has regained consciousness. When Jude saw his parents, he began to cry, for he knew they have found out about his health status. He told his parents that he knew already. He visited a hospital some time ago, and after the test, he was confirmed HIV positive. His dad looked at him as tears ran down his eyes. "How did you contract this virus?" his dad asked. Jude looked up as tears filled his eyes. It's Auntie Lizzie. She lured me to sleep with her, he said. His mother couldn't believe her ears. No, you are not sure. It can't be Lizzie. You might have contacted this infection from another source, Clara said. Mom, I'm sure of what I'm saying. I have never slept with anyone since my birth except Auntie Lizzie, and it was just recently during the week I lived with her, he said. His father was just watching Jude and his wife as they argue over it. He turned to the doctor. Doc, what can we do about this now? Is there any way we can make it mild, he said. Yes, we will refer him to another hospital where he will be on drugs to keep him stable for the meantime. If we had him before now, we would prescribe medication to keep his status hidden, but it will only consume money, but he will live with it, the doctor said. But is there any chance that we can get those drugs for him when he is referred to the other hospital? James asked. I will not give you the assurance now until when we get there first, the doctor said. Weeks later, Jude was transferred to another hospital and a test was conducting on him, and luckily the virus was still mild and haven't developed too far. He was placed under drugs that helped him to remain strong and helped him to hide his HIV status. The news of Jude's health condition soon spread like wildfire, and people were surprised of how it came to be. Jude made it plain and clear to his classmates that asked that it was Auntie Lizzie. Due to the way the news went, Auntie Lizzie fled from the city and traveled to a far distance place unknown to people. Clara, on the other hand, have planned to use every resource she has to make sure she gets Lizzie and make her pay for what she has put her son through. Jude lived his life like a normal human being and still pursued after his dreams and future career. His life was a lesson to others, mostly students that do sleep around with teachers in schools. Thanks you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you would like us to continue this stories, comment continue. Bye for now.